Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you have a successful accounting, bookkeeping, and tax business, enabling you to actually have the confidence to offer quality accounting services and get paid what you're worth. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and for more than 20 years, I've been working with accounting professionals to help them start and build successful businesses offering exactly that, quality accounting services. Now, with that being said, I weekly have on the podcast guests where we invite them to come on and share their expertise, various things that they can do to help us, in fact, have the premier accounting firm in our areas. Now, in doing so, we range in topics from marketing, selling, pricing, onboarding clients, training staff, retaining customers, all the things that you would need to understand about your business in order for you to work on your company and have the business that you can be proud of. Now, for today's episode, I'm excited to have two guests. This is both Melanie Power and Andrew Robinson. Now, I have with me the founders of the global movement for bookkeepers, Bookkeeper Revolution. Now, both Melanie and Andrew are the founders of this, and Mel is most well known for her role at Xero as the head of bookkeeping and growing her own bookkeeping practice to 120 clients in a year. And Andrew is a chartered accountant, having transitioned his own mid-tier accounting firm from compliance to advisory work, tripling his revenue with 1/3 of the clients. Mel and Andrew now head up their own highly successful Art of Advisory program, which steps basically bookkeepers through a process of growing and scaling and educating themselves to offer CFO-type skills. And it's also meant to help them become the bookkeepers to command the business that they deserve. So with that being said, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here, Roger, and g'day from Australia.
There you go. And Andrew as well from good old Australia.
Yes, g'day from Sydney, Australia.
There you go. Now, the two of you obviously have your unique journeys. And so I would like to kind of start with each of you introducing really how you got into accounting. So Andrew, let me begin with you. How did you begin your career in accounting? Was this something you intended to do? Where did you go to school, and what's that background like?
My journey's a little different. I was actually a farmer's son, and I was, because of isolation, I went off to a boarding school. So I had intended to finish boarding school and come back on the farm. And my father said, no, you're not. You're going to have to go and get a trade before you do that. And I went, well, bugger, if I'm going to go and study more, I'm going to go and do something different. And a mate of mine was an accountant, so I just followed his pathway. And then had the opportunity, once I finished my degree, I had the opportunity to buy into an accounting practice where one of the partners was exiting. And a mate and I bought in, and we transitioned that business. We decided that compliance was going to get to a point where it was a lot harder to be competitive. So we wanted a point of difference. So we moved in and created what we called our business improvement group and started working with clients deeper. And through that process, we removed 2/3 of our clients and tripled the services that we're offering to those clients and designed packages, had our team do the work, and we just concentrated on strategy and relationships.
Perfect. I love that story. You know, I think a lot of people can identify with it. Lots of accounting professionals find themselves kind of just gravitating to the profession from one means or another, and it seems to be the same for you. But Mel, what was your experience?
Well, let me just grab those shrimps I put on the barbie first to make sure they don't burn. Andrew's laughing. So actually, I am one of those people that have fallen into the profession. I started out as a musician and at the conservatorium and was going to be a teacher, and I had my first prac teaching, and it was a kindergarten class, and a little boy accidentally had an accident in his pants. And I remember going, I can't do this. And I think I walked out of that teaching. I came home and I said to my dad, Dad, I can't be a music teacher. He said, well, why don't you go into finance like I've done? So I enrolled in a Bachelor of Commerce, majoring in accounting. And strangely enough, there seems to be a lot of people that have gone into numbers that are musical as well. I don't know what the connection is, but it's there. So that was my start. And I actually had a trainee in a local accounting firm. So I started off doing tax. Very quickly, I realized that I disliked tax with a passion. But what I found was that I had a unique skill set in designing systems to help small business owners keep track of their records so they could minimize the tax they paid. And I also found that I actually had a little strength there of actually translating what those numbers meant to the business owner. So essentially putting the words behind the numbers and telling the story of what was really going on in the business. And I've kind of been there for 20 years, and I've had a few other businesses around that skill set, but that's how I kind of really fell into it.
Well, I like what you shared about taking the numbers and putting words behind them. I think that's what they're looking for. The clients really benefit when we can translate this information into something they can understand and then use to make informed business decisions. All of a sudden now the numbers become actionable because they understand what they're trying to communicate. So it's really giving homage to the idea that accounting is the language of business, especially if you can communicate it effectively. So you both have this journey that brought you into accounting. What brought you both together? Andrew, how did that happen?
Through a mutual colleague. We were both doing some work with this mutual colleague, but we're on opposite sides. We hadn't actually met, and sadly, he passed away due to illness. And when we met up, we realised that we actually complemented each other. Mel's an amazing genius in the area of marketing and selling and mindset, and mine's in the back end operation and making things work efficiently, effective, and of course the CFO skills that I've got. So it just became natural, and it's worked out that way. We're like brother and sister. We're best friends. We love what we do. But we work really hard, and we've got amazing students who appreciate both of our geniuses.
So with this coming together, you've obviously created programs that aren't meant for necessarily businesses where you're providing accounting services. You're almost now serving the accounting community and working with business owners or with accountants and bookkeepers, particularly women bookkeepers. Why women?
I think that's a great question, Roger. And Andrew and I have both been in this coaching space probably for 10 years now. And obviously it was part-time for me whilst I was had a commercial role at Xero. But in 2019, it was time to really take it to the next level. And the foundational coaching program, the Bookkeeping Business Accelerator, was born into the world of Bookkeeper Revolution. And the ethos behind why that was created, and particularly for women, is that I found that there's been one major or common thread across women in this profession in bookkeeping, is that the majority of them don't charge what they're worth. And so it's a process of support, changing their mindset, changing the way that they structure their offer to market, who they work with. So those three things actually create a foundation of confidence for them to be able to then start to craft a business that is going to generate profits for them and really be a vehicle that is going to deliver for them what they deserve as the owner of the business. And Andrew is particularly passionate about this area, and I'll let him complete this off on his thoughts, but he has a unique way of really getting people to understand that they must have a commercial salary, and then they must be creating profits within the business to be distributed outside of that salary. It's a fundamental thing that we see a lot of women in bookkeeping businesses just seem to forget about themselves. And so we really want to champion that they remember themselves in the process of that business. I'll let you finish that off, Andrew.
Well, before Andrew jumps in, I liked how you referred to it as the bookkeeper revolution. I mean, you're definitely targeting a very common question that a lot of people struggle with. It's very familiar in the chat rooms and so forth of accounting professionals to have this question of pricing come up on a regular basis. And so for you to kind of hone in on that as a thing that needs attention and they need help or perhaps even permission to charge what they're able to earn or deserve to earn is a very important thing. So, Andrew, what is it that you're bringing to this discussion as part of the bookkeeper's revolution for these women as bookkeepers to feel like they can charge what they're worth?
In my accounting firm, I actually preferred to have bookkeepers in my clients. So I used to look for people who were doing bookkeeping services and put them into my clients, because I had this really simple analogy, which was I'm going to work in my genius and I'm going to get other people to do all of the processing and grunt work. Even in with my own practice, I stopped doing tax returns and I had a partner who did the tax work. So I was just specialized in my genius around helping businesses grow and make more money. So what I found out of that was that I actually, for the entire time in my accounting business, never found a male bookkeeper. So it was really that I realized that there's this huge opportunity in the market, because most of the bookkeepers were female. They were also mums, and they were looking for school hours work. And when it became more than school hours, they would go and find another bookkeeper to help them out. So what I found myself was helping these bookkeepers actually structure their businesses. So when I met Mel some 10 years later and she told me about it, I was like, this is an awesome opportunity to help the whole profession move up a level from being, I guess, just backyard. I termed it backyard mechanics. The person that's operating out of their garage and just getting a few things done, to being very, very professional in their approach to there to make money for themselves, but also to be able to live the life that they desire to live.
Yeah.
And for the most of our students, it is very much orientated around family.
Yep.
They want to be there for their children. They want to be able to be flexible, but they also deserve to, they do a very good job, so they deserve the profit, not just the salary, because most of them can make a reasonable salary. It's just that they don't think that they can make a profit. So our job is to help them to price better, which is Mel's expertise. And then my job is to teach them how to scale. And then from that, we make a profit.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. Yeah, so with your scaling them, and Mel, you working on pricing, let's go to the pricing and start there, and then we'll go to the scaling, because Andrew did a great job of describing the bookkeeper and perhaps her situation is she's that mother that's trying to raise a family and fit this in perhaps.
Yeah.
But we're talking about pricing, and oftentimes that's a culmination of maybe two things, confidence and self-worth. How would you describe it and how would you address it with them?
So I think it's really interesting that you mentioned that pricing is a confidence, is a mixture of those two things. And I think there is a perception or a belief in the market that pricing is actually about setting the price. What I want to say here is it's not. I want to bust that myth. It's the perception is there because we've had, no disrespect to our incredible accounting software companies or other providers in the market, it's really easy to throw out a tool, and we've actually got one as well, right? But it's really easy to throw out a tool to say, here, set the price, forget about it, tick the box. You've done the job, you've got it right, move on. That is where things get stuck, because pricing is actually not about that. Pricing is a part of an ongoing sales process, and the sales process starts from the moment you speak to the customer right until you onboard them. And it gets down to this one word, it's value. And, I can hear Ron Baker going, yeah. I think we all know Ron's stuff. And it's like, he's the grandfather of it, right? And I think probably what Andrew and I have been able to do is we've taken a lot of different methodologies and real life experience and structured helping bookkeepers understanding on how to set the price into a process that fits them, the people they want to work with, and their business styles, so that they can then go forth with confidence. but it actually really is about the sales process, Roger. And selling is definitely not a dirty word. It actually should be a beautiful experience, and it should be one that's delivered with authenticity and heart, that provides the bookkeeper and the potential client with a really lovely experience, whether or not the client comes on to work with that bookkeeper or not. That's what it's all about. So that's really what pricing is about. The setting the price is actually just a small part of it. If you get the sales process right, almost the price becomes irrelevant, if that makes sense.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because you're right. If you're able to, with the client, ascertain their need and
Yes.
identify the pain that they have, it's more clear then how valuable the service you're providing is to that client because you've identified the need and the pain associated with what you're providing as a service. So from a pricing standpoint, there's a variety of methodologies out there. The common ones that most people in the accounting profession are familiar with happen to be first beginning with hourly, then you have flat rate, then you have menu pricing, you have revenue-based pricing, and then you've got value pricing. You mentioned, for example, Ron Baker. He's got a great book that you're right, referring to him as the grandfather of that term is perhaps appropriate. So there's different stratas there as to what it is you can actually use as your methodology to price your services. But I loved how you said it does come down to value, because regardless of the methodology you're using, it does come down to the value, the perceived value that the client has in the services that you're offering. And then when you close the deal, you're asking for the engagement and you extend an amount, you need to be able to say that it has worth and that they can see, you know what, I can't say no to this. This is something that I need, and you're the right one to perform this task or duty. Let's take care of it. So all of a sudden now we've got pricing addressed. We have the confidence enough to ask for the business and state that dollar amount. But now we're with Andrew. Where does scaling the business come into this, Andrew?
So the first thing that, whether we're in accounting or whether we're in bookkeeping, you've got to understand what your genius is. And most would say that their genius is the technical side, but I disagree with that. The technical side is simply what you've learnt. Your genius comes from your own core values and your own passions and interests. So combining your technical with what you're passionate about is where you'll find your genius space. Once you've identified that genius space, it helps you to determine where you actually want to be working in the business. And for our students that are doing the CFO program, I'm teaching them how to, as Mel mentioned earlier, I'm teaching them how to understand the numbers and how to interpret them, but also how to actually have a conversation with your clients about the numbers within the business. So if this is something that they're passionate about and they really want to do that, then we need them working in that area and not in other areas. So the first question then is asked, well, what areas do I cut and give to somebody else? And what do I keep for myself? So we have a 3-step process. One is identify all the administrational part of the client servicing, then identify the processing part of it. Now, the interesting thing is I've done this in the accounting industry and I'm now doing it in the bookkeeping industry, and it's roughly about the same. There's about 60% of what you do for clients, what you do in your services, which is either considered administration or processing. And yet the bookkeepers have other bookkeepers doing all of that work, and they wonder why they can't scale, why they can't get through the work. So what we do is we map it out. We call ours the customer journey. And we work through from the packages you've put together and which is the administration part of the processing tasks, which is the tasks of the genius, and map that through. And then it makes it very easy to onboard a team member. So you'll identify you need an administrational person, and you'll know the number of hours you need based on the clients that you've got, number of clients you've got. Then you'll need a processing type person or a lower skilled bookkeeper to do that work. then of course you'll have your senior. So for most of our bookkeepers, they don't move past that. So they tend to do the senior bookkeeping technical work or this top end work. And they just have a part-time admin person and a part-time processor to work through the other stuff. So what that enables them to do is obviously do 2/3 more work, which is where they get their profit from.
I like that. Helping the listener understand that there is a business model to this is very helpful because they can see that there's a path to actually find the success that many of them are looking for. Now, whether they're a solo entrepreneur trying to grow beyond themselves, or if they're established as an accounting business with staff and employees ranging from bookkeepers, accountants, and admin people, as you pointed out, this is something that we need to understand is there is a turnkey process to actually growing a business. And what I was hearing you say is when you say genius, I am also thinking of and reflecting on the word niche marketing, niching in the fact that you're identifying industries that you want to specialize in, processes that you want to really become particularly strong at. And then you're able to really expand your business because you're able to go deep into a specific industry. Now, one of the things that I want to also draw attention to is you use the word passion. Passion, I think, is so essential. There are 4 things that we've identified as being essential to success, and passion is definitely one of them because it really is quite important in the sales process, especially when we're talking about pricing, because the potential client is going to see in us the enthusiasm we bring to the work. And they want to be a part of that. They want to buy into that enthusiasm and actually have access to that excitement that we're bringing to the work we're doing for them. So, Mel, in your case, you're obviously with this bookkeeper revolution creating a movement. What draws the women, the bookkeepers, into this movement? What would you say is an integral part of their wanting to belong?
I'm going to answer that, but I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to be cheeky because I'm a cheeky Aussie girl, right?
Okay.
I want to just backtrack to what you said about niche there. And I'm cheeky. I'm also about busting myths as well. I think you said 2 really important things there, Roger. You talked about niche and industry. You also talked about niche in processes. And I want all the listeners to understand niche is not about industry. Niche is actually about us, who we are as a service provider. And Andrew touched on it before when he talked about Genius Zone. And this is actually going to lead into what you just asked me as well. Niche is about understanding who we want to serve and what problem we solve for them. So it's actually a mixture of industry and processes because we could have one problem that we are really particularly good at solving. For example, cash flow management and projection is probably one of the most dire problems for small business owners. But as a service provider, we actually might be able to provide that solution to service-based consultants, but we just happen to be passionate about, which is the word you use then, about working with construction industry. Why? Because we may have had prior experience in that industry, or our husbands or partners or brothers may have had businesses like that. So there's an internal connection to that person as to why we feel that we want to help them. And so when we talk about niching, we call it genius. That's kind of our word that we use for it because that's really, really what it is, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just want to add to that before you move to the
Awesome.
answering the question. The other thing I wanted to say as well is that I see as the operational and scale side of business, I see niche as just more your way of marketing. It makes it much easier to market and sell to a niche.
Yes.
Right? So for me, it's all about that side of it. When I come into the operational side of it, I look at more of it, as Mel said, is in the passion. So I wanted to share a couple of examples of that. And we have a lovely lady who has a very, very good bookkeeping business in Canada. Now, one of her skill sets and her desires is she likes to create calm.
She does.
She's unfortunately had a life of anxiety herself, and she's worked very hard on that to get herself to where she's being calm. Now, the funny thing is that, well, it's not funny, it's actually really amazing. She actually works with one of her clients that has grown ninefold. So 9 times in the last 3 years is the growth that it's happened in that business. And what she's done is she's created this unique way of creating calm for them. So she's taken all of the chaos out of their business, including how they talk and report to their team members, how their business flows via activity, and they track that activity. So it's all around numbers and the systems that she's put in place. So we've created her calm methodology. Now, that's her genius zone. That methodology now she's rolling out to other businesses. And we also have this lovely lady in New Zealand that's got a very, very good bookkeeping business.
She sure does.
And she is an amazing person herself. She's just got this really ethical and moral way of dealing with people, whether it's her team, whether it's her clients, whether it's her community, and she gives back. So what I identified out of that, and we've just helped her build, is it's in New Zealand, they call it the Mana way. Now, she's not obviously used that name. She's created, but we've moved that to what she calls her way. And that is that she's teaching non-for-profit organisations throughout New Zealand on how to act ethically and morally with suppliers, contractors, their obviously their target, whether it's their patients or whether it's their community that they're doing the work for. So everything they treat when they come across that person, you're totally respected, and the business is respected in the community. So these are 2 examples of where it's not so much about their niche, it's more about their passion and their values. And that's what I call the genius.
Yes.
You know, I appreciate you sharing that, because for me, what I'm hearing there is the reminder that at the end of the day, this is still a people business, and each of us bring our personalities to it. And oftentimes for our clients, that's what they're really buying from us, is not the financial reports. It's not the compliance that they're needing. It's the fact that we're bringing a personal element, a human element to the relationship. And what they see in the accounting information is coming through us because of how we're delivering it, how we're presenting it, and enabling them to use it. So you just gave 2 great stories of how people have taken their essence of who they are, brought it to the business forefront, use that in the client relations they have. And honestly, at the end of the day, what you're describing is their means to have client retention. These clients aren't going to leave and go for someone else to provide the reports, because they're going to lose that human innateness of what those 2 bookkeepers are bringing to that client relation. So I think that that's an excellent reminder to all of us that at the end of the day, we're probably all competent enough to provide financial reports. The question is not whether or not the numbers are necessarily accurate. It's whether or not we're delivering them to our clients in a useful way that they then can then utilize to make informed business decisions. And so 2 great examples there. So Mel, here's my question for you. You're working with women. You're obviously trying to empower them, give them the confidence that they need, help them better price their services and get paid what they're worth. What advice would you have for a woman who's hearing this podcast and they're just wondering, this sounds great, this wonderful, but maybe there's something inside holding me back? What would you say to that individual?
Roger, what a beautiful question to ask, and I want to thank you for asking that. For the ladies that are listening, my message to you is this: just be authentically who you are. When we step forth into that space of just being who we are, not what the world or institutions or what we think we should be. When we are who we are, the byproduct of being who we are means that organically the right people come into our world that are attracted to the essence of who we are. That one shift can actually then 10x your revenue. it can create opportunities that you may never, ever have thought that would have come your way. You won't have an issue of potentially positioning to a client, here are your solutions. This is the monthly fee for me to help you achieve that holiday you always wanted on the beach every single year with your family. I can help you do that. It's just about learning to be who we are. That one piece, once you've unlocked that, then all the other beautiful methodologies that go over the top of that will create the vehicle that you need to command the life that you deserve.
Thank you for that, Mel. I think that's excellent advice. And honestly, I'm going to address this to the men as well. The
Yes,
biggest thing
guys,
that I think
yes.
we oftentimes, we definitely need to realize as a profession that the accounting work that we're doing is in so many ways commoditized. And from a pricing standpoint, that's not where we want to find our strengths. One of the things that we need to recognize, whether we're a solo entrepreneur, a large accounting firm doing bookkeeping, accounting, tax services, at the end of the day, it is the client relationship that we're building. It's whether or not the client is feeling comfortable providing us these very confidential and yet sensitive bits of information about our self-worth, about as the client gives us their company or personal data, what they're doing from a personal income standpoint. There's a lot of very private information. And if we are flippant about it and insensitive to it, we're not giving the credit that they do, that they're owed in this. And so I think what you're doing is you're validating that all of us should feel very comfortable seeing worth in the services that we're providing and realize that we are making a difference, not just with the quality of the work we're providing, but at the end of the day, the relationships that we're building with our clientele. And I really applaud you, Melanie and Andrew, in bringing this kind of point of view to the discussion, because whether men or women, whether bookkeeper, accountant, we're at a point now as a profession where we have to realize that it's not just about the numbers anymore. It is something much more than that. And it's through that understanding, we're finally going to get paid what we're worth, because we're now recognizing that relationship has value as well. So I'm going to switch gears on us here, Mel and Andrew, and just kind of ask some off-topic questions. Mel, I know you're a lover of animals. What? Tell us about the kittens.
Well, I have had 4. They've just gone to homes. I did keep one. They were just dumped in my local estate, and I've had them from 2 weeks old. I've been bottle feeding them, and it's been a lovely experience. So you can't take the mother out of us, I don't think.
I
It's been
love
very
it. And
cute.
Andrew, do you have kittens?
No.
All right. So Andrew, do you have dogs?
I have to say that my passion is in cars. So
In cars.
I drive a sports car and love the Formula One.
What do you drive?
I drive an Aston Martin.
Oh my, that's nice.
007
Vantage, yes.
All right. So with that, I don't know if I dare ask how fast you've driven it, because that's not necessarily about the speed per se. There's definitely a different appeal to that. But what drew you to the Aston Martin?
It's an interesting story. My grandfather had a love of Cadillacs, and he used to buy a Cadillac every 2 years, import it from the United States. And I always never had an interest in mechanical things as I was growing up. So it was strange. As soon as I had the opportunity and had the money to buy something, I went and started buying sports cars. And so my first car was a Jaguar XKR Supercharge. And then I had a Hummer for a while, which is not a sports car.
No, that's not.
But it was more the fun of it. So the passion just came from my grandfather, and it stemmed into now. I accidentally stumbled across this Aston Martin, and I absolutely love it. It's at the doctor at the moment, having a few little repairs done. As I say, the specialist surgeon that's charging me an absolute fortune so that I can have it running absolutely pristine to stick it in the garage and drive it on the weekends.
There you go.
He's commanding the price he deserves, Andrew.
There you go. You cannot fault him for that. He is the expert that he is as the The expert garage doctor. So Mel, I also know that you're an aficionado for fashion. Tell me about that.
Yes, well, the CFO tends to make sure I curb my expenditure there. I do love supporting our Australian fashion designers, Camilla, Carla Zampatti, Karen G. I think it's just part of, I consider myself a bit of a mad creative who loves to write and play music and teach people the joys of how to sell, and, fashion just kind of goes along with it.
So I have to ask, is it the outfit or is it the accessories that interest you most?
Both.
Oh, you
One
can't
can
pick
never
both.
have too many shoes.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I would expect that your closet is chock full of boxes, is what I would suspect. Is that right?
Oh, no. The shoes are housed very carefully.
Okay, all right.
Not in cardboard boxes.
Okay.
And I'm camera ready. I said to you this morning that I thought we're on video, so I've got, a beautiful Camilla dress on, and that's okay. I'm enjoying the fashion in my own office today. It's all good.
All right, so here's what you need to do. We cannot let this go to waste. Mel, I need you to send me a picture today. You've got to email me a picture.
Of course.
Of how you are dressed. So I don't know how you're going to do it. You can either do it as a selfie or you can have someone take it, but email me a picture of how you are dressed today, and we're going to put this in the episode description of the podcast. So it will be there.
I will do that.
All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to wrap up our conversation here, and I appreciate both Mel and Andrew being on the call. I really found this to be an insightful conversation because really, as accounting professionals, we have a lot of things we need to talk about as we're operating our business, and we did that today, addressing some of those topics. So I'm going to summarize what I felt we covered in our conversation. But before I do that, I want to invite everyone as listeners to go to the episode description. It's in the episode that you'll find some things that are offers today that you don't want to pass up. Mel and Andrew have been kind enough to offer us their pricing calculator and some related training to actually help us understand a little bit about pricing and how we can more effectively and confidently offer the pricing that we have. And related to that, Universal Accounting Center is also going to be providing to you access to what is referred to as the Turnkey business plan. It's essentially what all accounting professionals need to understand as they're running their business, those various things that they need to have in place as they're operating the company. And with this, I would also suggest that you get a copy of the 2 books that are made available today by Universal Accounting Center. One is a book that is one that all accounting professionals need to have as part of their library, which is In the Black, 9 Principles to Making Your Business Profitable. It literally is those things that you need to be working on in your company to ensure that profit is a deliberate, intentional part of your business model. And it's these same 9 principles that you'd be able to use with your clients as you're working with them to help them work on their company as well. Now, with the second book, it is Red to Black. It is Red to Black in 30 days. It is the Small Business Accountant's Guide to Quick Turnarounds. It's literally showing you how you can work with clients that are struggling with the most common issue that many face today, and that's cash flow management. So see what it is that you can do to become a profit and growth expert for your clients. And with that being said, I do want to basically surmise our conversation today is really 2 things. It's confidence and competence. It's really getting to the point with pricing to realize that you can, if you do it right, get paid what you're worth and basically explain to your clients what it is that you're doing for them in a way that they can appreciate it and see the value in it to pay you what you're asking. And then, as Andrew was pointing out, is then once you've got that established, you can build a business around that. And with those 3 areas of the company, really build the infrastructure needed for growth. And with that growth, enable you to do what you perhaps enjoy most. And in doing so, maybe move away from the transactional side of the business and more into the relationship side of the company, working with your clients and getting paid what you're worth. So really some great insights. I trust that you've got some good takeaways and notes from today's conversation. But what I invite you to do is literally look at what is it in your business that you think is the next challenge or the biggest opportunity you're facing as you're working to grow your company. Is it with the marketing and sales to get clients and have you get paid what you're worth? Is it in the services that you're offering that you maybe need to be doing more of? Like they were talking, finding your genius and maybe finding what it is you can do to really take your clients to another level. And then lastly, it's the operational procedures related to the production of your business that allow you to work more efficiently. So great things for us to really hone in on and identify as ways that we can work on our business and improve what we're doing to, in fact, have the premier accounting firm in our area and get paid what we're worth. So I'm going to ask now Mel and Andrew to leave us with a closing thought. And as they do this, let's just see what it is they have as parting words of wisdom. So, Andrew, I'm going to begin with you, and then I'll come to Mel. So, Andrew, what closing thought would you have for us today?
To think about the tasks of what you do and where your genius sits in those tasks, and work through a process of removing, meaning getting other people to do the work that you don't want to do or that's not your genius, so that you can focus 100% of your time on your genius.
Very good. Mel, what would you have to say?
I think I touched on it before. It is about being authentically you. And when it comes to designing a business, remember it's a vehicle to get you to be where you want to be. There is no right and there is no wrong, because you are the architect and the designer of your own life. So for ladies that are listening to this, I want to encourage you to invest in yourself, back yourself, that your dream is actually something that can become a reality.
Excellent. Well, Andrew, Mel, both of you, thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate your insights, your thoughts, and really encourage our listeners to check out the episode description and see what those different offers are that you can take advantage of. As I summarize this, I also want to wrap up by encouraging you to subscribe to the podcast and listen to this and other episodes that we have. We come out each and every week with new experts sharing with us insights that we can actually apply in our business. And so I encourage you to subscribe, get the notifications, and also go back and revisit some of our past episodes. In addition to this, I also want to encourage you to, if you want to apply these principles in your business or find out more, visit us at universalaccounting.com. You can go there for more information, such as additional free resources that are available that you can actually apply personally and professionally in your career and business. As well, I invite you to give us a phone call. You can reach us at 801-265-3777. Always remember this: if it's about accounting, it is universal. Take care, have a great day, and be safe out there.